Hello and welcome one and all to yet another episode of Level 1 Adventuring. I am your host and Dungeon Master, Wolfe Scott. You are strapping in for another unexpected episode of our Halloween stream sessions of 1,000-Year-Old Vampire by Tim Hutchins. But before we get into that, let me do my opening spiel for you all. I am Wolfe Scott, as said. What is Level 1 Adventuring? It is primarily a role-playing game and tabletop role-playing game focused content platform. We're a Twitch channel, we're a YouTube channel. We have a Discord server where we talk about the games we're going to play. I post Homebrew content for 5e there as well as on Twitter. Join all of the socials, please. It helps us very much. We're almost crossing the 200 mark on Twitch, which is our last 200 goalpost across our platforms we're trying to hit. So I hope to see you there across everything, especially if you want to catch up on previous episodes. For example, if you're just joining in now, but you want to see how our vampire Gioran gets to where he is today, all of those episodes are on the YouTube. Big shout out to all of our stream partners, Stream Audio, Stream Spell, Stream Labs. I'm also, this has been a little bit of an experiment for people who are in the chat. I'm running audio through Epidemic Sound now because the tabletop audio, the free service, sometimes gets really weird and staticky, which, is not great when you're trying to run a live. I get it, it's live, right? It's live theater, anything can happen. But hey, if you notice any weirdness happening on Epidemic Sound, let me know. Maybe it's not just the platform, maybe it's something deeper, so it'd be good to know. But that being said, that is all my usual spiel. Use any of the affiliate links down below of the services I've just named, because if you want to upgrade your stream, it'll help us out, and we appreciate helping each other out as content creators. But tonight, it is the ongoing adventure of Gioran Volkilov, the 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. If you see this game or any of the previous sessions and you think, wow, this seems pretty fun, I would like to try it myself sometime, buy it. Here's the actual... Man, it's hard to get a good angle because it's gold foil, which catches the light so aggressively. But buy it. You can buy it at many different retailers. I bought this at Heart of the Unicorn Games, Deernicorn Games. But it's a beautifully designed book that makes you feel as though you are an ancient vampire who is traveling through the long breadth and width of their tortured existence, their tortured life. What is this game? It is a solo journaling RPG, which centers around the adventures and misadventures and misdeeds of you, who will play bloodthirsty vampire, and it will end tragically. The entire point of this game is that you will see the end of your vampire's long unnatural life. You will suffer things such as loss of humanity, loss of memory, as you exist for a very long time. So, spoiler warning, plays with some adult themes. This will also not be a rules through of the game. Episode 1 had a really deep dive into the rules, so some of the mechanics may be brought up as we play, but if you're looking for a how-to, this is not it. You'd want to see episode 1, right? Okay, so with that being said, I think what we can do is, I'm gonna just scooch up the music a little bit. Alrighty. And now that the music is just ever so scooched, I'm going to go into our performance mode. And there we go. Looking nice. As always, I like to give a brief overview of what has happened in the previous session. And the last session was quite the doozy. So I'm happy to recant it for people who have maybe missed an episode, like our dear friend Nar, who is in the chat. So let's scroll up a little bit. What event did we... Yes. So, the third episode, this is installment 5. On the third episode, we started narrating what the next event would be, but my internet was acting kind of wonky, so we cut it there, and that's where I picked up this episode. So I'm going to go one event before the event that kicked off last stream to get everyone acclimated from where we were. So, entering the mind of Gioran Volkilov. We shape a mortal from birth to be the perfect human ruler. Her name is Oksana, and she plays the role of savior of humanity well. We use her strength and charisma to keep the mortals satisfied, believing they repel the strength of New Gjorival. It is a losing game they are playing out over the length of their short, inconsequential lives, right? So that was our prompt before last time. We essentially installed a puppet ruler who is playing out this game of battling us for the souls of humanity, even though she was secretly like under our enthrallment, right? Then this is the event that kicked off last episode. During combat, we are temporarily felled, and when we awake, the sun is rising and threatening to vaporize us. We rush to a hut occupied by a small boy and beg for entrance, because we cannot enter, we are vampire, right, until we are given express permission. Against his better judgment, he obliges, and we adopt the Orphan of War into our court. So we almost were disintegrated because we fell to some silvered arrows in combat. We were knocked unconscious when we awoke. We were gonna be burnt alive, but this young, confused orphan boy, not knowing who we were truly, lets us into his home, and instead of devouring him, we find a sense of kinship with him, because we too were once peasants orphaned by combat on a lord's territory, right? So we take him into our court. We don't turn him, he is mortal. I think there is a part we described, there is a part of Gyorin who does not want to turn him until he's like old enough to become like useful as like a vampire servitor. But you know, we essentially have an adopted mortal son now named Kreshimir. And here's where things start really turning up to 11. Magdalena, our former general, and Oksana undermine my rule behind my back and established farce with the mortal nobility, and Magdalena pierces me with a baned sword, the same vampire's bane I gave her to kill Miloj. What betrayal! I am forced to flee the Night Keep, barely clutching onto my unnatural life alongside Kreshimir, and Magdoval replaces my holds on the map of the world. So Magdalena, who has been our faithful general, kicks us out of our own keep after almost assassinating us, and we escape with our adopted mortal son. So here's where it's getting wild. Kreshimir and I lay low for some time in the village on the outskirts of the fields surrounding the royal holds. I sustain myself on animal blood and play the part of simple farmer. Kreshimir and I's bond grows as we suffer in silence together. So it became like surprisingly wholesome. We started a farm. I'm just trying to lay low, trying not to attract the attention of any rival vampires or vampire hunters from either Magdalena or Oksana, and I'm just tilling the fields and raising cattle and occasionally, you know, drinking their blood. But it's a surprisingly low-key existence for Gyorin, who has so far had like a reign of blood and terror behind him. The innovation of new machinery and mechanized parts allows for more efficient farming and the movement of goods across the countryside. Kreshimir and I's business ventures as farming merchants become more prosperous, and the realm of influence expands. So now, this sort of, I think in the breadth of our narrative establishes kind of a shift in the times, right? We're kind of living through the onset of Industrial Revolution. So we're kind of leaving, you know, more medieval simplified tools behind, and we're starting to move into an age where factories and, you know, mechanization are going to be at their fledgling. You know, it's very rudimentary, but it's beginning to affect the land. And that is going to be a very different part of our existence here, right? Then, we laid low for a while, but not forever. Magdalena's vampiric assassins nearly claim Kreshimir and I. We escape the mainland via a sailing vessel and appear on the far-off shores of Yithmir. We take new names, so I am now Bargit, and Kreshimir is Simas, and begin teaching ourselves the language of the locals while maintaining the guise of factory workers on the docks. So, this is huge. We essentially, I put, I randomized some prompts to kind of get us into like the headspace of where we're at. We essentially leave, what was once Strigaval, then Goraval, now Magdaval, which was essentially very much inspired by like a Slavic sort of, dark fantasy world. We flee this land over the water of the ocean, and we end up in Ythmir, which is kind of now being inspired by like Lovecraftian London. We're talking about like a city on the precipice of industrialization. It's cobblestones and fog and intrigue. And so we come here, we don't know the language, and we essentially like enlist in helping docks and factories to like learn the language and acclimate to a whole new city, a whole new world. It's gonna be interesting. We have new names. A lot's happening. And this was where a turning point happened for the character as well. So during a night of hunting, I stumble across the descendant of Marcellus Whately, a man named Cornelius, who has become something of a cultural icon in Ythmir. After saving his life from a mortal stab wound, I convince him that Kreshimir and I would be a worthwhile protégés for his historical cataloging endeavors uptown. So, for those of you who have been with us since like session 2, there was a scene where a treasure hunter historian by the name of Marcellus confronted us on the grounds of our old manor and said, "Hey, I know who you are. You're a vampire. If you don't teach me the secrets of immortality, I'm going to out you, and like everyone's gonna hunt you." We call his bluff and we murder him, but unfortunately his murder is what prompts the hunters to start chasing us, Anastasia, that whole arc where we were like banished to the swamp and then we like came back, right? That all started from the murder of Marcellus. So now, years and years and years later, we recognize the Whately crest that he is wearing. And so instead of killing Cornelius, who was being attacked at night by a thug, we realize that Cornelius is valuable. He is somewhat of a cultural attaché to the nobility, right? He's involved in the art and the history and that sort of spectrum. And we know a lot about history because we've lived it. And so we see this as an opportunity of getting us out of our lower station, right? And sort of cavorting with the nobles of Ythmir. So, yeah, a wild turn of events. We went from like vampire lord in charge of like a military and like a dominion of land, and slowly but surely our minions have tried to undermine us, Game of Thrones style, and we were fully ran out from our holdings entirely, and we have to start entirely fresh and new in a new place. So it's a very exciting place in the narrative. It's a very, it's gonna go into new directions, and I'm excited to see where it takes us. So that was the previous session, session 4. So I'm gonna go back to memories here, because what we have to figure out now is where we're going in the story, right? So to do that, for those of us who've been following along, we, as always, roll a d10, and then we roll a d6. We minus the 2, which is not a huge jump, so 6 minus 7 is 1, but that is still forward momentum upon our story. So we're in a new land, Barget and Simas, new names, new prompts, and we trudge ever onward. So here we go. Prompt 36. The deceptions you practice fool even yourself. Combine any 3 traits to fabricate an experience that you believe to be true. Huh. Interesting. Any 3 traits. Now, traits are skills or resources, but we actually have no resources left. So we are completely at the behest of our skills. I also learned that that checked skills, right, operate a little differently than crossed out skills. So essentially they're similar. You can't use a skill if it's checked. It can influence how you answer prompts, but I don't think you can use it again. But a striked out skill means it is completely lost to you because checked skills can be recovered. Struck out skills cannot. So I went back to watch some of the previous episodes, adjusted my skills accordingly. But now I am just taking 3 traits. Nar says, wow, crazy stuff happens. Sounds like typing only a little now because I just did nails for Halloween. Oh, get those spooky nails, Nar. No, you're fine. You don't have to talk. You can just listen to the tale. But now I have to take 3 traits that currently exist on our character and form sort of a new belief about our identity that we have. So what are my 3 traits that I think are going to be good for this? And what memories, another big question, is what memories do I have that will play into this this existence? I think immediately what's coming out is political intrigue. I'm also kind of seeing thievery, right? Because like now we're rubbing shoulders with the nobility, right? So political intrigue, thievery, and I kind of like the mercantile aspect of our character that we had right before we got banished from Gjorval before it became Magdaval. This sort of paints a picture of us, or maybe only the strongest survive, because we're kind of on the streets now. We're ascending from the streets. It kind of paints this picture that, you know, now that we have been stripped of our titles and our military and like a lot of the reputation and the fear we commanded, we kind of have to figure out a new way to operate in the society. And by befriending Cornelius, we are now socially interacting with people of high station, have a lot of money. Perhaps we can use this as an opportunity to like grift our way and plot and scheme our way into higher stations. So I kind of like political intrigue. I like thievery, and I like the mercantile. So what kind of combine any 3 traits to fabricate an experience that you believe to be true? So this is something that's not exactly true. We believe it to be true. Our mind kind of makes us believe that it's true, right? So I'm gonna go to memories. I'm gonna go to second chances because I feel like this fits under the second chances bubble of our story. And in my mind's eye, what I think Gioran believes to be true is that like Gioran does to a certain extent know that he was deposed of power, right? But maybe he believes that he has been double crossed many times. Maybe he believes that that he was once a very prominent noble in Ythmir until he was stripped of his station and deposed, and so now he has to sort of prey upon people's not like through blood, although he probably will do that. But he sort of has to prove himself that he's good enough to be reinstated amongst the nobility in Ythmir. He's sort of like on a crusade to regain his former station. He believes himself to be of a greater business acumen that he was, right? Sort of dovetailed his industry into his nobility, if you will. So yeah, what is this? So the three I'm gonna say are thievery, what did I say? Thievery, plots and intrigue, and mercantile. And I'm gonna expand this a little bit so that can all fit on one handy dandy line, just for my sake. Actually, I can keep that bold. Why not? That's just like sort of the seeding here, right? Although my mind has gaps within its recall, years of shadows and shade that obscure the truth of my origins. My time in Ythmir is all I need to learn of my true destiny amongst the mortals across the sea. I, Barget. maybe we even convince ourselves entirely that we are Barget. That would be interesting. I, Barget, was once a prominent businessman and member of the social elite in this thrumming, steaming metropolis. However, my jealous rivals sought to unseat my success and undermined me, stealing my riches and station and reducing me to a common dock worker, refusing to be forlorn, to be forgotten, and dismayed by these worms, by these envious worms. I vow to scrape my way back into the upper echelons of greatness and establish Barget. Oh, what was the name of one of our... Be interesting if we had a last name. Did we lose our founding memory? No, our founding memory's in our diary, right? Yeah. So, who's like a family member who we lost? We've lost a lot. Oh wow, I didn't realize that Oksana was the name of, well, I guess it doesn't really matter, his mother, since we never really met her that long. I like Evander. That was one of our brothers' names, and that could pass off as maybe like an English Barget Evander, or Evander Barget. Evander Barget has a better ring to it, I feel. Evander Barget. Yeah, let's go with that. And it kind of and it plays upon a name that we had. Oh yeah, Evander was our childhood friend who ran the shipping lines, and he escaped here by the water. That makes sense. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so and establish Evander Barget as a new force to be a new political power and force to be reckoned with amongst the powdered sycophants of Ythmir. Nice. So we're starting kind of our own intrigue, our own grift, our own sort of plots and schemes in this new city. Onar also said, apparently Beans is still going on about my Star Wars game that I mentioned yesterday. Beans remembers a surprising amount. Good on you, Beans. So let's go to the chronology. Speaking in third person, are we? Let's head over to the chronology. So this is prompt 36. We spend, so the prompt is, we lie so well that we begin to convince ourselves of our new identity. So our lies weave together to form a most intriguing and convincing new reality for us. We are Evander Barget, temporarily, it's a hard one to do when you're rolling your R's, displaced merchant prince of Ythmir, attempting to claw our way back into the good graces and fortune of the noble hierarchy. Here, prompt 36. All right, we are going into some new territory. Let's go back to memories while we get our prompts queued up and our dice. So as always, we roll that d10. All right, mid-roll, kind of in the 5 there. We roll our d6. Ooh, so we stay right here and we just go a little deeper. We're 36, prompt 2. Punish someone because of this false memory. You kill or maim a character. Check a skill. Take the skill. I know what's real. Oh, wow. You kill or maim a character. Check a skill. As much as I hate to admit it, I kind of feel like this has to be Kreshimir. Because right now, Kreshimir is the only person who knows our identity who would challenge it, right? As far as Cornelius is concerned, we are Evander Barget, right? And we wouldn't want to harm, we wouldn't want to harm Kreshimir either, but we definitely wouldn't want to harm. Whoa, Toddy! Thank you so much for showing up to stream today. Oh my god, 9 months currently subbed. You are so kind. I appreciate you. It is so good to see you back on stream. I hope your leg is feeling better. Also, anyone and everyone, Toddy, if you have a link open to your GoFundMe, Toddy hurt his leg. Need another surgery? I need to repost your stuff again. He said it's not. I am so sorry. Please feel free to post it here. I will okay the link if the chat bot yells at you, but if not, I will find a way to post it. My good friend, I'm sorry, and I hope I can do more to help you very soon. Like, October has been a very expensive month with the Halloween. But it's so good to see you. So as much as I feel like we don't want to hurt Kreshimir, being that he's our adopted son, like, Cornelius cannot be harmed if we don't want to harm our reputation amongst the nobility in Ythmir. So I feel like it has to fall on Kreshimir, which is unfortunate. So we have to check a skill and we have to take the skill. I know what's real. So first of all, let's go to our skills. And the first thing we're gonna do, you know what I'm gonna do, just to make this easier on me? I'm just gonna turn all the check skills red. That way they're just a little easier for me to see. The check mark is useful, but it is not entirely perfect. And we have to take the checked skill. I know what's real. Nar says, sending you all the necromantic healing magic I can. Yes, we'll put new bones in that leg through the power of necromancy, through foul sorcery and dark wizardry. So I kind of have to check either the skills political intrigue or deity returned. And in my mind, I feel like maybe this has to be deity returned, right? In the sense that, like, Kreshimir... Let me read this prompt again so I get my headcanon around it. Punish someone because of this false memory. You kill or maim a character. Check a skill. Take the skill. I know what's real. Okay, so in my mind's eye, here's what happens. We are deeply involved in our new false reality. We are Evander Barget. We are displaced merchant prince in Ythmir, and we're sort of falling into this paranoia and this madness because we are trying to fully convince ourselves of this new reality. But Kreshimir knows who we are. Kreshimir, at least to a certain extent, understands that we are an unnatural being, right? Maybe does not understand the full scope of what we used to be, does not know that we are the Night Saint, but does understand that we are an unnatural being, and also knows us like we were a simple farmer who was trying to escape persecution at the hands of vampiric assassins. And so I think there's like a moment where Kreshimir detects our sort of the fraying strands of our grasp on reality, and maybe even perhaps like tries to confront us with our diary. Ooh, that'd be interesting. And brings it over to the table and slides it on over as we're looking at a map of Ythmir, and it's sort of like this moment, like it's a beautiful mind where we're tracking all the noble houses and the important people and taking stock of their assumed funds and like all of the stuff, trying to plot our way our new heists and our new schemes, and we turn around and we say, Simas, what is this? And Kreshimir sort of looks us up and down. Kreshimir, Gyorn, you know this. And then we just sort of like wave our hand like, bah, Simas, you bother me with your foolishness. I do not bother you with foolishness, Gyorn. This is truth. Look, and flips open the book and like points, and probably looks very similar to like how the actual diary in the 1,000-Year-Old Vampire is, where there's like all of these. Let me see if I can find a good reference page where there's all these like stickers and like scrapbook kind of moments, right? Where it's like all of these different pieces of information which have been cobbled together across time are like stretched across our book, and says, this is who you are. I know not the depravity to which you now fall in this strange place, but you fall prey to their games. You fall prey to their desires, Gyorn. This is not you. And then Gyorn like turns around, like red eyes steaming with vampiric ire, and it's like, you do not intend to tell me who I am, boy. And like they now it's like God of War, boy. They're like beginning to butt heads, and perhaps at some point Kreshimir sort of takes the diary and strides over to Gyorn and like attempts to force it into his hands or like against him, like if you will not believe me, believe your own words, Gyorn. This is your hand, and like attempts to push it like in front of him. And Gyorn just sort of instinctively, as like, he feels the pressure against him, just whips his hand back and says, enough! But like, this is unnatural, undead strength behind his arm. And it sort of knocks Kreshimir off of his feet into the air across their apartment, and just has him tumbling through some furniture and like splintering it. And in the process, damaging his body. It says, kill or maim a character. I don't think Kreshimir should die. I like the idea that Kreshimir stays around to continue the drama, if you will, of the story, but perhaps is thrown into the furniture with such force that we hear like the splintering crack, pop through his leg, and there is a shout of pain. As there's sort of like a mix of emotions within Gjoran. You know, there's like we smell blood, and so we are hungry. But then, you know, this is Kreshimir, essentially our adopted son, who has been with us since our exile, and like, you know, just, yeah, exactly, and our instant regret, this like twist of emotions. And suddenly, you know, the sort of bloodlust fades from our eyes for a moment as we, retain more of our human visage, as we reach forward and you know, Simas, I'm sorry, I did not mean. And, you know, Kreshimir Simas pulls himself up from, you know, using the leverage of another piece of furniture nearby, like, onto his foot, onto his good leg. You now see, like, one leg is now hobbling and looking a little more crooked, and says, I do not want your apologies, Gjoran. You'll learn in time. I know you will, whether you like it or not. And like begins to just hobble his way down the corridor, you know, to his quarters, and sort of leaves us to consider our hostility and our barbarism, right? And I think that definitely is going to cause a huge rift between the two of them. They obviously still need to rely on each other to a certain extent, but yeah, the relationship is definitely going to be strained from now on. Especially because I imagine being hurt in this way is going to affect Kreshimir's work, right? Like, well, we were both working in the factory, but once I did say I leverage my reputation with Cornelis into the high society and like the noble district and the art curators and the museums for both of us, but you know, he's still young. Nar says, so sad. Listen, this is what happens when you start losing more and more of your humanity and your memory. You know, people are caught in the crossfire. And so, yeah, I think this is definitely going to affect, maybe a bit, how often he can get out of the house. Which is kind of sad. Oof, okay, yeah, I'm starting to make myself upset, but let's go to, memories. Oh boy. Is this gonna go under second chances? A touch of humanity? No, it can't go under touch of humanity. Second chances does not feel like it fits here. Because, you know, I'm sort of like harming someone that I care about. That doesn't feel like a second chance. Those who oppose is full. I might have to lose a memory here. March of the Night Saint. And that would be interesting considering the prompt, nothing goes under the touch of humanity 2024. Says Toddy. Exactly. Just collectively, we all are no longer allowed to put any more entries under a touch of humanity. That's locked for all of us. It would be interesting to lose one of the memories attached to our time as the Night Saint, considering that this prompt literally has us believing a new understanding of our person, right? That is interesting. What is in our diary? Our diary has our founding memories. It has us understanding that we're immortal, right? That we are, and it has us understanding after spending much time. Oh, this is us returning to the keep. So we do have a bit of an understanding of, we had some, a great deal of significance towards a group of people in the past. We do remember killing our old war comrade. But I think it would be really interesting to lose a memory tied to our time as the Night Saint. So I think maybe the one that we lose is March of the Night Saint. What's wrapped up in here? Yeah, the Yithmir one is too recent. This is when we crushed the Vorlock resistance. this is... This is where we implant the ruler, Oksana. So now we don't know that Oksana used to be our thrall. That would be interesting. And when we are exiled out of Magdeval, out of our old territory. So yeah, I think this is the one we lose. Which is very interesting because now, as far as we're concerned, like... Is he losing the Night of Long Blood, says Nar. That one actually might be... Oh, I didn't mean to put that in the diary. I meant to put that in Things Lost. Paste. The Night of Long Blood actually might be in our diary. Let's see. The Hunter and the Hunted, I believe. As an unforeseen stroke of luck. Yeah, no, the Night of Long Blood is in our diary. So at least we do remember committing a grand murder on a huge scale. But yeah, exactly why perhaps maybe lost to us, but we do remember Anastasia though. And freeing the werewolf. So that is interesting. Alright, so things lost. The March of the Night Saint is lost. So let's go to March of the Night Saint and we delete this. Things lost, it's in there. So now let's go back to memories. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what is this new memory called? This new memory... I'm gonna call this one Instant Regrets. You know, in the honor of Nar here. Nar says you gotta keep a triumph like that. Yeah, I think at the moment we could have added it to the diary, we're like, oh yeah, Night of Long Blood is going into the diary. Experience 1 for Instant Regrets. And now let us enter the mind of Gjorin, or I should say Evander Barget. My young ward, Simas, approaches me with my haphazard diary as I painstakingly map the province of Yithmir, its nobility, and what prizes can be claimed from their vaults and courts. He confronts me, my identity, my purpose, telling me I am losing myself in the tangles of these new lives I have ingratiated myself amongst. I tell him his advice is misguided and unwarranted, yet still the spirited boy presses on. Presses on, and challenges me, thrusting this book against my chest in defiance. In a surge of unrestrained anger, I accidentally unleash a strike upon the young man and send him across the room, shattering antiques along the way. Immediately, I am crestfallen and ashamed of my brutish behavior, especially against one who has shown me such patience and kindness.
I extend my hand in apology, but the blow is too painful and too fresh for Simas to instantly forgive. He stumbles away for now to tend to his injury. But I wonder if I have done more to wound the boy's pride and perhaps our very bond. Only time will tell. I hope Simas can absolve me of my shortcomings in time.
So that is prompt 36, part 2. Oh man, poor Kreshimir, poor Simas. All right, we are going to go now. Oh, and we should go to our chronology to mark this down, so I have it in the short term.
Simas challenges my identity and calls for me to let go of my schemes against the ruling powers of Ythmir. In my blind rage, I accidentally wound the young man who takes his leave of me. I am remorseful of my actions, but I am unsure of Simas's tolerance for my foolishness.
And that was prompt 36, part 2. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go to characters. Under Kreshimir, we have to make 2 notes. Number 1, Kreshimir has taken the false name of Simas Barget, right? Because we are Vander Barget in Ythmir, and was injured and maimed after challenging our identity. Nar says, is Beans talking about Star Wars again? You even saw the chat from last year because I kept the tab open and saw he kept going on about it. Just for me mentioning it once. He must really much like Star Wars. Well, hey, maybe Beans will really like when we run Outsiders, the sequel to Notorious. the bounty hunting RPG. Since I think the new expansion's coming out soon, and I would like to step back into the shoes of that space cowboy. That might be a fun one to run, and Beans might finally be satiated with all of his Star Wars love. Okay, so there we go. I think we're gonna go back to our prompts now and figure out what direction we're heading. So number 1, we roll our d10. Oof. We might be going backwards. We roll a d6. Oof. Yep, we're going back. I think that is -3, right? Because -1, -2. Sorry, math. My math brain. If we're starting a tune, we -5, right? So that the difference would be 3. So let's go back 3. 31, 2, 3. You know where the old things are. Create a resource and make an enemy character into a friend
Interesting. You know where the old things are. Create a resource and make an enemy character into a friend. Well, what enemies do we have right now? Characters. We have... I don't think Lucian would become a friend of ours. Ivas... I don't know if they would be this side. Oksana is still in the old country. Perhaps it's an immortal character. It says we know where the old things are. It would kind of be interesting if we ran into Radhu the Red, who was the person who turned us into a vampire. Do we have that memory? Diary. Oh, wait. Yeah. Nightly Ascension. Terrors from the Past. Founding Memory. Did I lose? No, I lost the memory of my vampiric birth. So I don't know who Radhu is. But I guess we don't necessarily have to remember. He could remember us, which that would be interesting. Yeah. He's a mercenary. We battled him. Okay. And now we're a museum curator. Ooh. What if we find like an old weapon that is like marked with like the heraldry of old Kata when we were serving as a mercenary, right? And someone comes in to like take a look at the exhibit, and they're like strangely familiar, and they're like eyeing us up. Yeah, exactly, Nar. Just because Gyorn doesn't remember doesn't mean Radhu doesn't remember. That's very true. I like that idea. Oh, that's a very interesting... And that could go under second chances, which would be very interesting. Ooh, okay. So create a resource and make an enemy character into a friend. So I guess the resource would be... at least we're going to get a new resource now that we can leverage in our story as well. Toddy says, Radhu advantage of remembering us, but us not remembering Radhu. Yes. And it says we become friends. So perhaps Radhu knows that he bit us and left us for dead. So Radhu knows that we're a vampire. But this is, as far as we know, this is the first time that we are meeting Radhu, who's a fellow vampire in Ythmir. So maybe Radhu introduces us to the vampires in Ythmir, and like introduces us to all of like the society of vampires that are living in Ythmir. Oh, that would be so cool. And we would be kind of like his what's the word I want to use? Not like his servant, because we are independent of him, but like, you know, if he's like raised to a high station and he turned us, then like we sort of become a part of his entourage. Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, I like where this is going. So we know where the old things are. Create a resource. I think what that means is we start curating curate an ancient cotton war exhibit, right? Because we're like working in the arts and museum district now alongside Cornelius. This may be a stationary resource.
I know the prompt didn't ask for whether or not it was stationary, but like it also makes sense. But yeah, we create. Nar says, because if Gyorn is as old as he is, just imagine how old Radhu must be at this point. I know Radhu is like truly an ancient vampire. Like if we were a lord, I don't know what stage is like above lord, but like that is essentially what Radhu is. Oh, this is so cool. Okay, so yeah, our resource is we curate this ancient cotton war exhibit. You know, our memory is fuzzy from these times, but there's something that draws us to these symbols, these heraldries, these iconographies, these paintings, these armors, right? Like I imagine there's like a moment where like we're setting up the exhibit and like we touch the breastplate and there's like almost like a flash in the back of our mind, like a moment of sort of this like post-traumatic stress where we're like on the battlefield like chopping through like an enemy soldier, and then we like flash back and we're like in our body now, you know, and we're sort of all out of sorts and all sort of wrapped up in the fraying memories that are like wrestling around inside of our mind. Nar says Radhu probably is above courts and noble positions at this point. He's potentially a kingmaker that works from behind the scenes. Very true. Yeah, he could be sort of like, yeah, he could be trying to make his own play for he could be like the us of Gyuraval, right? Like we were like the Dark Lord of Gyuraval for a while, and we were like pulling vampires into our court. That could maybe be like what he's trying to jockey for. Oh man, that's so interesting. Okay, wow, this part of the adventure really has opened up into a wild new direction. All right, so this is definitely going under second chances. We're going to go experience 3. Which that memory did fill up very quickly. Yeah, the way that I'm seeing Radhu is like when I imagined him on the battlefield, I think I described him as wearing, what did I describe him as? As a mysterious mercenary famous for wearing a suit of crimson plate armor, right? So I kind of imagine now that he always wears these like red suits. You know, he's Radhu the Red. and like these fine crimson, you know, robes and fineries and cloaks. He's always dressed like in red. I wonder if there's any other, let's see if this table sort of inspires us with any other ideas for his look. An attainment of 65. Intrigue. Or if I flip that around, goals, attach. I mean, that both of those sound like his dealings, that's for sure. I kind of imagine him to be like silver haired, like maybe he was turned when he was a little bit older. I'm kind of seeing him as, you know, maybe has like a bit of like a goatee, silver and gray, very like harsh, intelligent, molded, capable. Oh man, this is so interesting. So yeah, I can imagine we're like, you know, we're like walking through the exhibit, and we're curating it, and we're having these like flashbacks and pangs of memories. And then, like, you know, we hear no one, like, this is, like, towards the end of the exhibit. Like, we've shown it for a little bit, so we're, like, taking care of it for the end of the evening. Most of the guests have, like, you know, sifted out for the night. And then, of course, we don't hear anyone enter. But, you know, there's just, like, a breeze of cold, you know, that wafts through the space. And then from behind us, this very eminent voice. You're interested in the old Khatan dynasty, are you not? Because, you know, he spent some time in Ythmir, so he was also a mercenary, so he doesn't necessarily have to have an old country accent. He could be from wherever. And we turn around and we say, it has been of some interest to me, yes.
They have a unique way of building things, making things. There is an art even in their brutality. And you can see like Radhu is sort of circling us and eyeing us, like almost like expecting us to maybe recognize, who he is. Yes, I can say that in my dealings with the old Cotton Dynasty, they were incredibly efficient warriors. And like, we tilt our head. In your dealings with the Cotton Dynasty? And, there's sort of like a squint from Radhu as he's trying to call our bluff. Yes. I believe, and like, perhaps there's like a moment where, he takes a step forward, but like in the blink of an eye, like a flash of darkness, he's like closer to us, and like narrowing his eyes, which are now burning red. Do not play coy with me, warrior. It may have been many years since we have crossed paths, but I remember your face, and I know well you remember mine. And at this point, we're sort of taken aback for a moment from this sudden approach, and our own sort of eyes flash red instinctively as we prepare to defend ourselves. But even Radhu sees that there's like a lapse of knowing in our eye, behind like our eyes for a moment, and he runs his hand through his goatee for a moment. Interesting. This escapes you, does it not? The knowledge of your past, our past, together. And Gyoran / Evander sort of, still unsure of how to place Radhu right now. If this is like another attempt on his life or not, he's not sure. I know nothing of you, old man. But if you do not stop speaking in riddles, I will be forced to take action upon you. And then, at this point, Radhu just sort of smiles and like waves his hand. You will do nothing of the sort. And I think we do feel, as he waves his hand, right, there's sort of like this pulse of energy that like echoes from him, because he did turn us. So there's probably some deep instinctual part of us that feels connected to him and even like indebted to him in our immortality, right? And so like when he sort of dismisses our comment, it almost feels as though it like pushes against our emotion and totally like quells the fire beneath us. Like he has some semblance of force that he can exert over our feelings. And says, I know what you are, and you know full well now what I am, even if you're not sure who I am. Your name. And, Gyoran almost has to struggle for a moment, as, like, being surrounded by all of these memories of his past and now being confronted by Rod, who's almost confusing the story he's been telling himself. But finally he manages to stutter out, Evander Baguette. And then, Radhu smiles grimly, with like a nod of his head. Evander. Oh, that's Gyoran's voice. Evander. You and I are more alike than you believe. And in a place as far away from home as Ythmir, it would behoove you to have allies in strong positions to help aid your ascension. Wouldn't you agree? And to this, Evander / Gyoran begins, his posture begins to slacken, whether it's because he is being enticed by Radhu's offer, or if it is because Radhu has this, like, impressive influence over our thoughts and our feelings. We do sort of relent a bit in our resistance. It is true, I have suffered many setbacks since crossing the waters. It could be useful to have someone who knows the ins of Ythmir.
Good. Then we are in agreement. Lord Radhu, he says as he, like, extends his hand. And, you know, once again, the name sort of, like, hits us in the back of our skull like some painful, faded memory. But it's still not fully formed. And very gingerly, we, you know, shake hands in return. It is a pleasure to... you know what? He's not Lord Radhu. He's Count Radhu, right? He's like the Dracula of our story right now. He is Count Radhu. I am making the change right here. Count Radhu. And the Count says, this is the beginning of a very lucrative partnership between us, Evander. I will be in touch. And like, Evander sort of like watches as Radhu begins to walk towards the window and sort of like confused. Do you need to know where to find me, where I shall be? And like Radhu just turns his head with like a very confident smile and says, I know all within Ythmir, Evander. Where you are is already known to me. And then just sort of explodes into a cloud of darkness and bats and like, flitters out into the night sky, leaving Gioran alone at the exhibit. And yeah, that is really cool. That is awesome. So we have made a new, we've entered a partnership with Count Radhu in Ythmir. That is badass. Oh man, this is why I love role-playing games. Just taking you into places you never thought you would go. That's so cool. So now let's go to memories. I mean, we just had such a cool narration of that event. I should have been typing as I was thinking. But I guess I can do the short and sweet version, which is, and I can just copy and paste that into the new entry. So as we are tending to our exhibit of old Khatin Dynasty relics, as I am, I should say, I'm confronted by a mysterious man clothed in a crimson suit and cape. He challenges... Oh yeah, he challenges my identity much like... And we also had like a flit of aggression, but he was able to quell us. He calls into question my immortal nature, claiming to know us from a time long lost to my understanding. This man, this being, exudes a power the likes of which I have not yet experienced firsthand. It both frightens and awes me. For the first time since my turning, I feel small in the presence of another. He announces he does not wish me ill. Nar says, I melt like body in his hands. I swoon and fangirl. I'm like literally, oh man, I can't put this in my diary. He's like, Bjorn is literally writing in his diary, "Dear diary, I met the coolest guy today." He's like my favorite guy. I want to be just like him when I am also an ancient count. He announces he does not wish me ill, but instead sees value in joining our vampiric efforts in Ythmir. Something within me compels me to acquiesce. That is not how you spell acquiesce, I don't think, but hopefully, what you call it, autocorrect will tell me. Something within me compels me to acquiesce. And I find myself forging a alliance with this count, this mysterious Count Radhu. Nice. That is prompt 33. Wow, that is, I said 22 instead of 33. Prompt 33. Man, that is cool. We've not seen Radhu since the founding memory. Oh, that's so cool. So you know where the old things are. Create a resource and make an enemy character into a friend. We created the resource, so we have the Ancient Cotton War exhibit. Yeah, let's go to the chronology. A mysterious and powerful vampire who claims to know me from an ancient time comes to me and offers his, I don't say his services, offers his tutelage and presence. Yeah! Beans is hungry, get that taco beans. Planetary offers tutelage and presence. I find myself unable to resist his request and find myself forging an alliance with Count Radhu. Oh, and hydrate. Thank you very much. I will do that right now. Prompt 33, baby. Let's go down here and get ready for... Man! This arc of the... You know, it's interesting. As much as I was having fun being, like, the great vampire lord who, like, ruled over a settlement and all that stuff, there's a part of me that was kind of like, well, where do we go from here? You know, we're already very powerful. Where do we go from here? But how the prompts have sort of forced us back into sort of this lowly, confused state and is now beginning to reintroduce, like, these fringe elements of our past, like, truly is giving us an entirely new scope of the story to... Oh my god, Nar! You are able to feed this beans everything. That is a hungry dragon. Oh, I got two hydrates. I didn't say I thought I only got the one. Three. Nar, how many points do you have? Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling it. 3 technically, says Nar. I'll do another one. Alright. I'm feeling properly sated. It's not blood. You know, probably preferable for this kind of campaign, but... Oh my god. Okay. Wow, what a prompt. What a prompt. Getting Radhu as a friend and like mentor. Ah, that's so cool. All right, let's go back to our prompts. So we're gonna roll that D10. Oh man, we might be going backwards again. We're gonna roll that D6. We're only gonna go back by 1. Okay, so that's 32. A lich has all the spell slots, says Dar. You are the necromancer. You are the resident necromancer. You keep a prisoner. Why this particular person? Why don't you feed upon them? Create a character and a skill related to keeping them captive. Ooh. Now that is interesting. You keep a prisoner. Why this particular person? You know, there's a part of me, I'm gonna roll on the table, but considering we just met Radhu and he's like kind of becoming a part of our, like we're becoming a part of his scope of power, there's almost a part of me that wants to say that like perhaps it's like a test given to us by Radhu, you know? Someone that like that if we turn, it'll like prove that like we're not worth his time, you know? Oh whoa, shape change the dragon. It's been a while since Beans has changed. What's Beans got going on? Whoa, okay. Black and gold, that's some Steeler colors. That's some Pittsburgh Steeler colors, baby. I am mad about it. Nice. I actually do like the colors on that. Blue, black, and gold. Nice. All right. Let's... But I will roll a thing on the prompts just to give us an idea. 63 and 18. I feel like we just got 63, surprisingly. Ambush, 18... The intellectual. Ambush the intellectual. Or, if I flip it, power... Move. Yeah, power move kind of feels like... Power move kind of feels like that is what I was leaning towards with Radhu. Create a character and a skill related to keeping them alive. Okay. First of all, let's roll a d6 to see the identity of this person. 4, so this is a female character. And I believe I had started a list of names that could be used in Yithmir. Okay. How about Lenora? Yeah, Lenora's fun. So this is character. So this is Lenora. What was the... Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I have an idea. So we got the prompt power move, right? So if we're gonna play with the idea that oh, what did Beans? Toddy says, you weren't here for the creation of the last non-binary character? Yeah, who was our last binary character, actually? Ivas? Was it Ivas? The familiar who tried to kill us? Or was it... Yeah, I think it was. We actually had... Wasn't here for Ivas. I think we actually had some more in our origin story, but unfortunately, being a vampire, they all were lost to time because they were mortal. I think a member of our family, right? Who did we have? Yeah, oh my gosh, Zophie. Zophie was our non-binary sibling who we fed on. We drank their blood on accident because we were hiding out in the woods and we were blood-starved and they tried to find us and we attacked them. Oof. That was a rough loss. That was Gyoran's first real big vampiric sin, I would say. That happened pretty early on. But yeah, it's been a while since we rolled one. But, okay. In my mind, this thing is called Power Move, right? And in my mind, if we're playing with the idea that Radhu is like Count Dracula, right? Like, you know, Count Dracula had, and I was kind of playing with this idea. I was thinking that maybe that Gyoran would eventually get, like, you know, vampiric brides to help him hunt and like serve with him, but you know, that never happened in his story. But perhaps it's happening in Radhu's story, and so Lenora is a mortal woman that Count Radhu is obsessed with, right? Because all of the vampires have their mortal women that they're obsessed with, and you know, he wants to embrace her and have her become part of become his bride, but he wants her to like want it, right? He wants her to. It's that same twisted tale of like the Beauty and the Beast, the Stockholm syndrome thing, right? He thinks if he can just keep her, that eventually she'll see to reason and want to be with him, right? So if the prompt is Power Move, perhaps he puts Lenora under like our watch, right? To like test our ability, like test our faith and like our ability to not feed upon like a mortal that he deems important. Because if it is like we are going to be like under his employ, so to speak, or like under his influence, he has to be able to trust us. And yeah, I think that is an interesting challenge. And that's going to be interesting because like where is Lenora kept? I guess it's on Radhu's property, but he like makes us her warden, right? This could lead into some interesting place, especially because if she's trying to convince Gyoran to like let her go, you know, oh man, this might be interesting. Okay, I think I'm just gonna go with that instinct. I think that there's a lot of drama there. So we keep a prisoner. Her name is Lenora Ravenfield. Why this particular person? She is a mortal singled out to become embraced by Count Radhu. He tasks us with watching over her until she, quote, comes to her senses about embracing vampirism. And so he assigns us as her warden within one of Radhu's, what's the word I want to use? Like, not a safe room. Like when you're in the mob and you have like a secret house. What's the word I'm thinking of? A safe house, right? Yeah. I think I said the words when you have a safe house, and then I was like, yeah, that's it, safe house. Within one of Radhu's safe house manors in Yithmir. So Sanctuary is another good one. Yes, that is a very good word. Sanctuaries. Sanctuary. Yeah, Lenora Ravenfield. She's a mortal singled out to become embraced by Count Radhu. Okay. I like that. That is fun. It's a power move. It's a power move for Radhu, and it's also kind of a test of a power move for us, right? So why this particular person? We know who the prisoner is. We know why. Why don't you feed upon them? Well, we can't, because if we did, that would be betraying Radhu, and he would enact swift vengeance upon us, which we don't want. Create a character and a skill related to keeping them alive. So, what is the skill? I want to say that the skill is, practiced restraint. Ooh, I have a redeem from Nar. I know Gjorn isn't a hero, but interesting idea. Next prompt, you get to roll twice and pick whichever one is more beneficial or whichever you like better. Nar, a brilliant idea, and I will absolutely use it for the next roll. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna say that the skill is practiced restraint, right? Like, he's obviously around this woman, and he's a vampire, and there's everything in him that's like, just feed on her and like sate yourself, but like it is not allowed by the count, right? So I think practiced restraint might be, and it also kind of fits like practiced restraint, like he's a warden. You could also interpret that as he is practicing restraining someone, like practicing keeping them locked away. It's flexible, but it applies to the situation, I think, in equal measure. So I think that's the skill, is practiced restraint. So let's go to memories. Where is this fitting into? Well, it's definitely not second chances. I don't think it's under instant regrets either. He doesn't really regret this. It's just something he has to do. So maybe we start, or a touch of humanity. No, this definitely isn't a touch of humanity. He's not being very humane. It's also full. We might have to lose another memory. So what is left? We have those who oppose. So what is in here? Oh, this is Voss. This is Meloge betraying us. And this is Magdalena killing Meloge. That might be an interesting one to lose. And what is making peace with our ghosts? This is the ghost of Valeria making peace with us. This is us destroying the last of the Strigoval and becoming... this is me becoming crowned as the Dark Lord. And this is Kreshimir and I having to escape. I think this is the memory we lose, right? Because this is the one where... Yeah, because now we don't have any memory of a time before Barget and Simas, right? We don't remember, at least immediately without referencing our library, we don't remember Gjorval or the Night Keep. And that plays into the fiction of us kind of believing that we are Evander, right? That plays into the fiction of us kind of losing our sense of self. So I think that's the one we lose. We paste that there. Let's go to memories. Making peace with our ghosts. And now let us add a new page. So I think this memory, so we're doing something for Count Radhu. I'm gonna name this memory
Acts of Alliance, right? Because these are things that we're doing now in support of our newfound relationship with the Count. And it could also apply to other characters should they arise. But yeah, the Acts of Alliance. So let's get into the mind of Gyorival, or Evander, I should say. Count Radhu has saddled me with a most peculiar and strange task. He has me watching over a mortal woman by the name of Lenora in one of his private estates. She's a prisoner here. One that I am not to feed upon. Feed upon or punish. Nar says, "Dear diary, Radhu finally saddled me. It was a dream come true. He rode me around the house like a little pony." She is a prisoner here, one that I am not to feed upon or punish, despite her captivity. In Radhu's words, she is a person of great importance to him. One that he wishes to gift the embrace of the vampire to, and join together in unholy union. Despite my initial reservations about such a strange, such a perverse, we'll say. Yes, like a pony, of course, says Nar. About such a perverse missive, I am loath to turn my back upon the good graces of Count Radhu, and keep a silent and steady vigil over her as she remains kept in her. Is she like in a... I don't imagine that she's like in a cell. I think like she has run of the estate, but it's like locked down. You know, like she can't escape. We can probably only get in because we can become bats and smoke, and, you know, we're like unnatural and fly to windows and things. But she's probably stuck, right? As she remains kept in her forced isolation. So this was prompt 32. Interesting. So now we're going to go to the chronology. We're going to make a quick note of this. So Count Radhu tasks me with watching over a personal prisoner of his, a woman by the name of Lenora, whom he desires to embrace as his vampiric bride. So that is prompt 32. All right. We're working for the Count now. We are making sure Lenora stays on lockdown. That is an interesting... God, this part of the story is taking such wild turns. Okay, so now, thanks to Nar, we get to roll 2 different results. Thank you, Nar, for redeeming your channel points. I'm going to write down the results because I know if I just roll them, I'm going to instantly forget them. So the first thing is we roll our 10, we roll our 6. Ooh, so this is a -3. So the result is either 31, 30, 29,
Or it is, let's give this another roll. Or it's the same prompt twice. So it's 32. So it's either 29 or 32. So let's take a look. So 30, since we're already here, let's take a look at 32 prompt 2. Mortals rescue your prisoner. Create 2 mortal rescuers, lose a resource. Oof. That might be kind of rough with the count. That might make bad blood with the count. So we'll see about that. But let's check 29 real quick. And have we gotten 29 before? 29. Oh, we've had this one before. You're exposed as a monster and flee to a far-off land. So we would get, you disguise yourself with an entirely new persona, take an old memory and modify it to make it contemporary and bland. Create a skill based on blending in. I might take this one just to give us another skill, so that we would have another thing to spend, right? Because we were getting really low on skills and resources. So, interesting. Take an old memory and modify it to make it contemporary and bland. By old, do they mean lost? Create a skill based on blending in. Let's go to... also, that'd be more beneficial than losing a resource. Yes, I agree. Let's go to things lost for a second and maybe just peer through. So, making peace. Upon our return to Strigaval, whispers, we are forced to flee. I take the name Barget and Kreshimir. So that would be, I mean, this is where we take the new name. But let's see if there's any other things. I cement my foothold in power. Despite our many successful campaigns. Vampiric birth. This one does have to do with Radhu the Red. As the Church of the Night, the power of the Night Saint grows, so too does our reputation for bloodthirst and dominion over the land. I'm wondering, an old memory. Let's roll a spark. Let's roll a prompt on the GM emulator and see if this guides our decision making in any way. 16 and 9. Inquire evil. Inquire of the root of evil. Yeah, there's a part of me that's almost thinking like, because a lot of our old memories have to do with like the religion and like being worshipped and like, what if, and like now we're like taking care of, what if it's like almost like we take on the guise of being like a sanitarium worker, or like someone who's trying to give like reprieve to someone through like faith, right? And that could also be an excuse, like if people are like, why are you going to all these abandoned estates? Like we hear like weird sounds coming from them. It could be like, oh yes, these poor tortured souls. Like this could be like a place where Radhu like keeps, it could be not just a place where Radhu keeps Lenora. It could be a place where he keeps like other victims too, right? And so perhaps this is like us, like, you know, people are saying like, you know, there's rumors going around about like weird sounds coming from one of the estates, and it's like, oh yes, this is the very generous count. He's keeping watch over these poor, half-crazed people. I am here to counsel them in their times of need, you know. That might be really interesting, and we can espouse all of this like knowledge of history and like
these like old lost religions as if like we're trying to offer them some sort of solitude, but it's really just like a front. It's just like that is interesting. You disguise yourself with an entirely new persona, take an old memory and modify it to make it contemporary and bland. Create a skill against for blending in. If I go to my skills, practice restraint, I know what's real, political intrigue, deity returned. I'm going to say yes, I'm going to say that I take the guise of so what is the skill that helps me? I counsel I'm going to say Counselor of Crisis. Because that could fit into a lot of other scenarios too. That could also be us using our charm and our bewildering power to like counsel people out of dangerous situations. But this could also be us like claiming that we are using our knowledge of history and old religions to be a balm to the world weary and like the fractured, the emotionally disturbed, right? That are being protected, you know, like held captive in these estates that are owned by, it probably does not have the Count's name outright on them, but probably owned by like, you know, a trust of businesses, you know, the what would be like, what if it was like the Red, because he's the Red, right? And he used to be a mercenary. So what if it's like the Redhelm Sanitarium, you know? That I kind of like it. So we're gonna go to memories. Oh no, we already have skills, right? Counselor of Crisis. So we're gonna go to memories. This was prompt 29, part 2. And this is, I would say a touch of humanity. This is another act of alliance, I feel like. Right? Experience 2. I further entrench myself in the service of Count Radhu. Narcissus, what else is red? Ketchup. Radhu invents ketchup. That is the true long game of Count Radhu. I become his dedicated ketchup savant. I further entrench myself in the service of Count Radhu and lose myself to the tale of Ivan der Baguette. Under the assumed employ, what is it? Bow. That's Gordon's. Bow before me and my ketchup empire. Count Radhu. Under the assumed employ of the Redhelm Sanitarium Committee, I am, what is the word? I am, I don't want to say task, I keep saying the word task. I am, I am entrusted with the responsibility of monitoring more captives of Radhu amongst his private not territories, what is another word for building, properties. Using my knowledge of ancient history and the studies and practices of long-lost religions, I put on the guise of benevolent. Toddy says, how long are we going tonight? That's a good question. I normally go for like 2.5. We're going on 2. I usually go 2.5. So if you're sticking around for another half an hour, Toddy, I'll keep going. But if you have to cut and run for the night, you know, don't fret. But I put on the guise of, it depends. If we get a really good prompt, I might stay longer too, depending on the, you know, what's going on. Toddy says, nah, I'm going to be here. Oh, it's good to have you back, Toddy. Always good to see you. Using my knowledge of ancient history and the studies and practices of long-lost religions, I put on the guise of a benevolent counselor of the emotionally distressed. This turns out to be an excellent disguise and cover story for these hidden cells, as oftentimes unusual and disturbing cries can be heard from deep within their shadowed halls. Nice. So I think I'm not going to change the name. I don't think he needs to change the name, but I think the persona, you know, can definitely be, you know, he starts off in the arts district rubbing shoulders with important people, and then one of the important people hires him, and now he's like using his specialties to like help in a new entrepreneurial venture for one of the Redhelm, what's the Redhelm Trust, right? The Redhelm Trust. Which is like Count Radhu's like blanket cover for all of the things he does in Yithmir. I'm gonna put that under his character as well. Radhu, oh, 1,000-year-old vampire. Radhu the Red entered a partnership, uses a front called the Redhelm Trust to organize his efforts across Yithmir. Perfect. All right, so here we are. We are now fully operating under the wishes of Radhu. We're keeping tabs on all of his personal prisons and blood stores, which is pretty grim. But hey, we didn't sign up to play 1,000-year-old vampire to have a lighthearted romp, right? So let's go to the chronology. We're gonna mark this down really quick, under the guise of a volunteer counselor for the Redhelm Trust. I monitor several of Count Radhu's prison facilities and personal vaults of fresh blood feed. Pretty dang grim. But we're benefiting.
Prompt 29, Part 2. Okay. So now, let us take a look, swing back on over to our dice. We're gonna roll that d10. A 9, that's pretty high. We might be moving forward a lot. Roll that d6. Ooh, not as high as we would have liked. 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going +4. So that is gonna be 30, 31, 32. I think we've had 33 before, so this is gonna be a new one. 33. You publish a book, or in some other way, cement a memory, either current or from your diary, in such a way that it can never be lost. Ooh. Draw a star next to the memory to indicate this, and change the memory to make it slightly less interesting. This memory can never again be changed or struck out, and it no longer takes a memory slot. Oh, this is huge. This is huge. This is huge. This is permanently forging a memory into our vampire, which can never be changed or lost. And it can be from the diary. Oof, this is big. This is real big. Okay. Let's take a stock of what we have. Okay, so founding memories, so this is our family, but we also publish a book, so it's like, what would the tale be? Time becomes a sea of darkness. After much time away from Castle Kata and Strigval, I return to its safe halls away from the hunters Anastasia. I return to them. So this is like when... So this is the memories of our family, and then spending like, you know, ages being tended to by the heirs of Kata, and then eventually returning to the heirs of Kata and like becoming their deity figure. Terrors from the past. This is when we get haunted by the ghost. This is when we flee to the woods after being cursed. And this is when the hunters start chasing me. This is when I get landed as a knight. This is when we initially conscript the Cotton Dynasty under our employ. And this is when we kill Marcellus. The Hunter and the Hunted. This is where we free the werewolf. This is where we flee to the swamps. And this is where... This is the Night of Long Blood. But if history is already remembers the Night of Long Blood, do we... Or maybe we write it into existence. But is there a memory that is more important to keep from here? That's a Ivas, not a big important memory. This is almost being killed by Meloge, nothing that terribly important. A touch of humanity. These are all too new. I feel like it has to be one from the diary.
The founding memory. This becomes a sea of darkness. After spending much time away from Castle Kata and Strigobal, I returned to its safe halls, away from the I'm not sure which one to turn into a permanent memory. Nightly Ascension. Also, we're writing a book on it. There is kind of a part of me that's like, what if I make the Night of Long Blood the permanent memory? Because then that kind of justifies it in the fiction that history remembers it, you know? That is interesting. You publish a book or in some other way cement a memory, either current or from your diary, in such a way that it can never be lost. Oh, this is a real tough decision. The Hunter and the Hunted is a cool name for a book. Huh. There's a part of me that's like, because it says like, make it less interesting, right? There's a part of me that's like, oh, I could write about all of the different lineages, like, because I'm a historian, right? So I could write a book about, you know, this old town in the old country, all the time, that I spent resting with Kata, right? In the old keep. And then also kind of solidify some of the religious ideals that I have. I'm gonna change the mother's name since Oksana is... I'll say it's Alexstrasza. What are we feeling? What are we feeling, y'all? What do we think is the memory that should be made into a book and permanent? This is a real tough one for me. This book can never again be changed. This memory can never be changed or struck out. It no longer takes up a memory slot. There's a part of me that's like really tempted to make his founding memories permanent. It's either the founding memories or the Night of Long Blood. I think those are the two memories that are the most worthy of becoming permanent. So it's either we record all of our family history and the religious practices of the old country that include part of the rituals associated with who would become the Night Saint, or we commit to memory... to history, I should say. Narcissus, can it be from the diary or does it have to be from his mind? It can be from either. But in terms of the memories that are available to us, the ones that we have in our memory right now, like they're very early. They're very recent, right? There's us meeting Kreshimir. There is us meeting Cornelius. There's us hurting Kreshimir. There's us meeting Count Radhu. The only one that is kind of older is almost being killed by Avas and Miloj, and then Miloj killing... Magdalena killing Miloj, which, like, isn't really that formative for us. So I feel like the diary ones are probably the most important ones to keep. And I think it's either the founding memory or it's the Night of Long Blood. There's a part of me... I could go either way, because there's a part of me that's like, he's already losing so much of himself in this new identity of Evander that maybe he doesn't really care about cementing his old life. But there's also going to be a part of him that feels very nostalgic for it, right? And wants to immortalize it. Because, you know, the Night of Long Blood is like a great triumph, but it's over like a group of people that are like miles and miles away at this point. Like, what is he holding on to that for? The enemies aren't even relevant anymore. No one has remembered the hunters in ages. I think, honestly, founding memory is the one that makes the most sense, especially given that we are taking on the guise of this, like, the guise of this historical expert and, like, curator of art and history. Like, if we're literally making a book about the old lineages of Strigoval and, like, the Cotton Dynasty and all of that stuff, and like that makes sense for us. Like in the fiction, that makes sense. It would be kind of weird if we published a book and it was like there was a huge great murder and that's almost like we're writing like fiction. I think I'm convincing myself or it could be a story about a cult and the group of hunters that, like, that could be a historical event. People remember the Night of Long Blood. So actually having someone catalog it with like a more finite, it's so tough. Maybe I should put it up to a roll of the dice. Let's see what the prompts shoot for. If I go bump, 80 and 12. 80 is trust and 12 is opposition, okay? And then flipped, it's increase art. So trust, opposition. That kind of feels like the hunter and the hunted in the Night of Old Blood, right? I guess the founding memory doesn't really matter that much anymore if we're not really believing in it. So let's grab the hunter and the hunted. Let's copy this. Let's go to memories. Let's go to paste. Those who oppose. And can I put a special character here? I can. Okay. So this is the Night of Long Blood will be forever cemented in our mind. I'm gonna make a note. Permanent memory cannot be removed. That was a lot of deliberation, but I feel like, you know, the dice have spoken, and if we're rolling with the fiction that he's losing more of his his knowledge of his former self, to make room for this new identity of Evander, then I think that makes sense. So let's go to diary, or memories, I should say. I don't think you publish, no, this would be an event. You publish a book or in some way cement a memory, either current or from your diary, in such a way that it can be lost. Draw a star next to the memory. This memory can never again be changed or struck out. It no longer takes memory. So even if we lose the diary, we still retain the memory of the Night of Long Blood. And that is, in fiction, we can justify that as like why history never forgets it, right? It goes down in history as like this terrible act, because now it has been solidified. So if we go to diary, this is gonna go under, or sorry, memories. This is gonna go under. It's not going to go under those who oppose. It's not going to go under touch of humanity. Accident. This also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we are going to lose this memory as well. So what are we losing? We're losing the knowledge of Avast trying to kill us. Oh, this is when everybody tried to kill us. Yeah. This is gone. We no longer need this anymore. Most of those characters are back in the old country. We have no recollection of them. We're going to go back to memories. Those who oppose, delete. So this is going to be acts of alliance, instant regrets, second chances. This is going to be, I'm going to call this one intellectual pursuits. Cuz this is us using our mind to improve our station, improve our reputation in Ythmir, and in the process cementing this memory permanently. So what is this book called? Reviewing. Oh, this is in red. I want this in white. Reviewing Elder Never mind, I get it in both colors. Reviewing Elder entries from my diary. I stumble across passages related to my fleeing of a adversarial hunting force, exile, and a triumphant return. I turn these personal experiences into a series of catalogued folktales and memoirs about creatures that go, quote, bump in the night. Such as wolfmen and bog dwellers that harried the old country. A collection of what's the word? A collection of examinations of cryptids and legends. Of cryptids, legends, and ghost stories of Strigoval. These curious findings attract the attention of readers with curious, what is the word I want to use? Books. Curious appetites for knowledge. Curious appetites. And I find myself find myself reaping the benefits of a lucrative career in independent publishing on matters strange and macabre.
Wow, so now we are an independent author. That is interesting. And this was prompt 33 part 2. We're gonna go to the chronology real quick. I'll cement that in there. Using my knowledge of the events surrounding the Night of Long Blood, I curate a collection of folk tales and cryptid reports on creatures native to the old country of Strigoval to some immediate acclaim. And that is prompt 33 part 2. Nice. I definitely want to do another prompt since that one was like really busting my brain. That's fun. He's like such like a well-to-do gentleman. He was like he grew up a soldier. He grew up as a soldier, became a mercenary, then became like a religious icon and like tyrant, and now he's just like a dude who like studies old artifacts and writes about ancient history in in like dark fantasy England over here. What a twist. What a twist this has become for Gioran. We're gonna roll that d10. Ooh, it's a pretty mid roll. We're gonna roll that 6. Wow, we're staying right where we are. A massive shift of power happens in the mortal realm. Governments fall, wars are waged, a new order is created. Who benefits? Check a skill. Commit atrocious deeds to gain a resource related to controlling innocent people. Take the skill, join the winning side, or instead check 2 skills. Ooh, this is interesting. Governments fall, wars are waged, and a new order is created. Who benefits? Check a skill. Okay, so what skills do I even have right now? I have the deity returned, I have political intrigue, I know what's real, practice restraint, counselor of crisis. Well, I feel like this has to be political intrigue, right? Like we are staying on the winning side because we have connections. I'm assuming the winning side is also the side that Radhu's on. Take the skill, join the winning side. Join the winning side. Interesting. So we had to check a skill, commit atrocious deeds to gain a resource related to control. Oh, so we gain a resource. Gain a resource related to controlling innocent people.
Take the skill, join the winning side. So what if... Oh, man. This is going to go into another dark direction, but, like... So, we already have the Sanitarium, right? And, like, if there's a war, there's gonna need to be a place where people, like, are... Like, they're gonna have to be, like, converted into makeshift hospitals, and also, like, keep people, you know, who are suffering emotional duress because they were, like, in conflict, you know, like, keep them monitored. So, like, what if because we were already, like, doing that to such success with the Redhelm Sanitarium that, like, that operation, like, expands, right? And so we sort of become overseer of this, like, wartime emergency infirmary service. Because we'd be controlling innocent people, right? Like these people are innocent in the sense that, like, they may have been involved in the war, and, like, whichever side they're on is, like, another matter, but, like, they're innocent in the sense that they are not privy to the dark dealings that actually go down within the Sanitarium halls, right? Like, they are not prepared for that, and they did not sign up for it, and they are untouched and unblemished with that harsh reality. So, that's a resource, right? So, check a skill, take the skill, join the winning side, or instead check 2 skills. Who benefits? I guess I'm gonna say a massive shift in power happens in the mortal realm. I guess I want to say Ythmir wins, right? Like, who benefits? If Radhu's here, and I'm here, this could be a scenario, too, where maybe the old country, like Magdalena, like, tries to wage war against us. Oh, well, not us, but, like, you know, comes across the pond, if you will. Ah, that's interesting. So what is our resource that we get? Gain a resource related to controlling innocent people. So that's kind of like a title, right? Like, we become overseer of emergency operations, right? It's like our title. And we're gonna say here, Sanitarium converted into infirmaries. Man, we got access to all the blood and bodies we could ever want in this situation. A massive shift in power happens in the mortal realm. Governments fall, wars are waged, a new order is created. I think I'm going to take some time away from stream to flesh out the idea of what the new order is and, like, you know, why, and I bet you I could come up with something interesting. Well, maybe I might be able to spark an idea right here. Like, maybe, like, why the war is waged. What is this? 37 is struggle. 19 for over new ideas. Okay. Or waste business. Now, I like struggle over new ideas. Struggle over new ideas is really rich. So if I go to memories, oh god, what would this be under? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Instant regrets, acts of alliance, second chances. This could either go under acts of alliance or second chances. Oh no, wait, never mind. Second chances is full.
So it has to go under Acts of Alliance. So this does kind of imply that Radhu is involved, if it's Acts of Alliance, right? So... Experience 3. Nar said, wow, the story's going on a lot longer than I thought it would. I thought for certain we'd reach the end during the stream. We just keep rolling, getting new stuff, which means we keep living, and I'm not mad about it. But it is wild how different the story has become. So this war is fought over a struggle over new ideas. And what is like the New Order's deal, right? It feels so Star Wars. The New Order. I'm gonna roll some things again. So 76 and 94. A mistrust in the elements. I'm not getting much from that. Or a dispute. Dispute the mundane. Actually, 76 mistrust the elements. When I hear mistrust the elements, maybe this is also like an environmental kind of thing. Like it could be a war that is waged because of like misappropriation of resources and like natural resources and like fuel and things like that. What is the New Order? So they're kind of mistrust elements. I'm gonna say resource. Mistrust resources. So yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like the New Order, if they're mistrusting people with like resources, I feel like they're kind of tyrannical. I feel like they're kind of, you know, iron-fisted. They're jealously guarding fuel and natural resources and keeping it to themselves. You know, it could be like a resource crisis that is sweeping the world that the winning side exploits, right? And that we join. I wonder if we can get an interesting title for this. Let's see. Hey Beans, our AI chat friend. Hey Beans, give me the name of a tyrannical political power party that keeps resources and fuel for itself above all others. Let's see if Beans has anything to say about that. The Iron Fist part, that's kind of on the nose, Beans. Come on. I appreciate the effort, Beans, but I think we can get a little bit more creative than that. I'll see if we can generate something a little bit more interesting. Oh, what is... Petrocratic is interesting. The Petrocratic. I'm assuming they're pulling petro from, like, fuel. Petrocratic hegemony. That's cool. Yeah. The Petrocratic hegemony is interesting. Or the Oligarchia Petrolis. Yeah. The Oligarchia Petrolis. The Ascendant Party? Says Toddy. Ooh. We always love a fan suggestion.
So the New Order struggle over ideas. So okay, so obviously the war was. So okay. So here's the deal. So Yithmir is resource rich, right? During a time of industrialization. We talked about how there was a time shift. We were sort of entering in the age of industry, right? So they're resource rich during a time of bustling industrialization. Neighboring territories are buckling under the demand for fuel and metal, which Yithmir is abundant in. A coalition of political powers beseeches Yithmir to share in this bounty. The Ascendant Association. Ooh. Kind of taking two ideas and putting it together. I dig that. I guess Toddy and Nar, you can decide amongst yourselves what the new world order is. If you like Ascendant Association, I say mint it. A coalition of political powers beseeches Yithmir to share in this bounty, but Yithmir jealously guards what they believe is rightfully theirs. This prompts a declaration of war as other countries prepare to take these valuables by force. Count Radhu, who has a great deal of personal investment in securing Yithmir, compels both mortals and immortals alike under his influence to aid the Yithmeri military in pushing back against. Oh man, that's interesting because it's like a coalition of nations, right? Which is like Yithmir, come on, you have all the metal, you have all the fuel, you have all the resources, share it. And Yithmir's like, no. And then the nations are like, well, we're gonna take it by force, and you're just you, and we are us. So like, this doesn't seem like that's gonna win. But they don't know that like the Yithmeri territories are like filled with vampires and like filled with guarded by Count Radhu. So it's like, oh man, this is so like a pulp military like fiction, like all the what's the word? All the like World War II stories about like supernatural beings being a part of the armed forces during the time. This is like so that vibe. Oh, which is wild. That's so cool. Compels both mortals and immortals like under his influence to aid the Yithmeri military in pushing back against the onslaught, trying to take these precious treasures. In the end, although Yithmir is outnumbered, the secret power of vampiric soldiers. Oh my god, and Radhu was once a soldier, and we were once a soldier, and we were fighting against each other, and that's how we got turned, but now we are fighting with Radhu against a conjoined. Oh my god, the poetic narrative circle, the poetic justice here that is happening. Compels both mortals and mortals alike under his influence to aid the Ythmiri military in pushing back against the onslaught, trying to take these precious treasures. In the end, although Ythmir has outnumbered the secret power of vampiric soldiers under its employ, forces back invaders and crushes its opposition. A new ruling power takes the helm of Ythmir and the surrounding territories, absorbed into its dominion from these large-scale battles. The Ascendant I can't. It's almost as if Radhu planned it like that the whole time. You would think this immortal mastermind, the Ascendant Association, is forged during this time of crisis and establishes itself as a major world power. Being that I haven't been talking in Gjoran's accent, I've just been looking at this from a very historical perspective. Being that I am allied with Radhu, we pledge ourselves to the Ascendant and join their ranks and cement our legacy with their victory. And that is prompt 33-3. So that is a pretty huge development. A whole new world order was just birthed. Oh, wow. This is wild. It would make sense that Gjoran's accent might fade and shift, and as the years pass on, that's true, especially the more time he spends in Ythmir. Oh man, I wonder what happens during the war to Kreshimir. I hope the boy's okay. Maybe he wasn't sent to war because of his leg. That would give me some respite. Let's go to our chronology. Let's cement this in here. Man, this is a big point to like boil down, but essentially a world war breaks loose on the borders of Ythmir over scarcity of metals and fuels. With the power of Radhu backing the Ythmiri military, they reign supreme, and a new political power, the Ascendant Association, raises itself in the wake of the dust, blood, and gunpowder. Prompt 33, part 3. Nar says, that'd be interesting if Gjoran's outburst of anger actually saved the boy. That's interesting. If he was injured, the likelihood that he would have been like drafted or conscripted is pretty low. So maybe he was spared enlistment. Oh man. What a tale. Look at this. Look at how many skills we now have. And look at how many we now we have 2 more resources. We have more skills.
Gjoran isn't going anywhere. Let's be real. Gjoran is pretty cemented right now. Yo, that is wild. This story just like refuses to not be interesting. Wow. And like look at like also like just the shift in narrative that what's happened. Like look at some of these diary entries, terrors from the past, the hunter and the hunted, spoils of war, and now we have memories that are like second chances, instant regret, intellectual pursuits. Like even like his life is so wildly different. Well, his existence is just so wildly different than what it once was. I'm just so infinitely intrigued by how this game continues to throw curveballs into this story. Nar says, what if the timeline kept going for so long that it actually went past the modern era and started going into sci-fi? Honestly, it might. Like, this is the first time I've ever played this game, but I know that, like, this edition of the game, which I think is also in the print version of the game, they actually added more prompts to the original. So there's like, yeah, there's like one prompt called like the weird place, alternate endings. Like I do think that there is a world in which the prompts take you into some really unknown territory. Which, I mean, if it's true, it'd be really interesting to see. You know, you gotta think too, like how many prompts are in the original book before they expand? I'm gonna take a look real quick in my hard copy. In the original printing, there are 80 prompts, right? So if we're on prompt like 33, granted, there's no guarantee that you're gonna get all the way to 80. But you'd have to assume that you're probably going to get maybe towards the end of the original prompts, right? In a first telling of the story, on average. So if you think about it that way, we're kind of like almost halfway. But I mean, it could be true that we just bumble into a bunch of prompts that like really undercut us and steal a lot from us. But yeah, I think you know, the game is probably designed that towards the end you do reach some of the later time era prompts. So that's pretty wild. I'm very happy with how this story has unfolded tonight. I'm very interested to see where Gjoran / Evander's story leads next. It just never, oh, man. Art is so cool. I'm gonna go to just chatting for a second. I just want to make a big, huge shout out to Tim Hutchins. Correct? You're the author of this, Tim Hutchings. Sorry, Tim Hutchings. I mean, what brilliance! What simple brilliance! Just write a couple prompts. The simplest die system. You know, just forward or backward. That's all you need. Forward or backward, and a few just interesting prompts. And, like, just such a rich narrative can spill out of it. Granted, you need to, like, invest, right? You need to have, like, an overactive imagination, which I guess I do. But, like, God. Like, such simplicity. Nar says, imagine if you could hack this to get completely randomized prompts by randomly determining what stat changes and whether or not it's added or subtracted, then using something like Mythic to figure out what the narrative part of the prompts is. Oh, you mean like if you hacked like all of the prompts in the book together in one string? That would be wild. That would be, oh my god. Yeah, I think that would be like easily over, that would be easily over like 200 prompts, I think. That would be wild. Ugh. I am so interested. Like, I actually, like, kind of want to keep going, but I'm trying to be good about my bedtime because I've been bad about it lately. But gosh, Tim Hutchings, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, thank you for making this. And thank you for making this Halloween a little bit more interesting for me. And hopefully giving the audience some nice spooky stories to intrigue and to entertain themselves with here on the channel. Speaking of this channel, hi, it's Level 1 Adventuring, and I'm your host and dungeon master / game master / storyteller narrator, Wolfe Scott. What is Level 1 Adventuring? If you're new here, it is primarily a role-playing game-based stream. We do, obviously, as you watch tonight, very intimate solo role-playing games. We also play big group role-playing games like D&D. We have an ongoing 5th edition campaign, which is currently running. Hasn't run in a couple weeks now, but it is still ongoing, which you can watch the previous episodes on YouTube. And also, you can catch all of our previous playthroughs there as well. The solo games are there as well. Please throw us a like, follow, subscribe on all the platforms, and join our Discord. It's where we meme, where we chat, we talk about the games we're gonna play. It's gonna be a place where we play D&D 5th edition together very soon. Our very wonderful Garrett, who plays in our 5th edition campaign, is away right now. But once he comes back, I'm hoping to put the final touches on the play-by-post stuff, and then we can go live. Also, I post 5th edition content there, free for you. Homebrew, take it, it's fun. Thank you to all of our stream partners, right? Epidemic Sound, Stream Spell, Tabletop Audio, Stream Audio, AI Twitch Bot, all the tools that make our stream more fun and interesting for our viewers. We have links to all of those in the description below, and if you use them for your own projects, we get a kickback, and that helps us help you. We love to see it. You know, good vibes all around. With that being said, I'm going to rest in my coffin until night falls again. But it has been wonderful seeing you. Thank you, Nar, for coming and sticking around. Thank you, Toddy, for coming back after I haven't seen you in a little bit. And I have to text you, Toddy, about something. Nose goes. I'll message you. But thank you all for being here. Actually, tomorrow night, I believe I'll be here. I have to see if the group can play D&D. If the group can play D&D tomorrow night, I'll definitely be here. If not, I'll either do a solo stream or I might write for another project, which I've not announced on stream yet, but I am doing some independent writing for something which is going to be fun to announce when it's live. But we'll see. I'll keep you all posted. But until then, drink some water. Enjoy the rest of your night. I hope you are well, or if you're not well, you get well soon. We'll see you soon. And until then, game on. Have fun. I'm going to run that beautiful outro. Y'all are great. See ya.